Hey everybody. Welcome to the 11th week. Has been 11 weeks already. It went too fast. This is the 11th week of the AI valuation code. So as you know, every Monday, 1:30 p.m. UK time, Matteo and I explore how AI is reshaping valuation, leadership, scalability, and the future of your businesses themselves. Last week, as we said, we had a lot of very interesting topics. Last week, we discussed how AI agents and how organizations are beginning to integrate AI into their workforce. Now we're moving to a second very, very important topic, and which is the second point of the valuation triangle we've been discussing all this time along. And yes, you guessed it right. We're talking about succession planning. But not only succession planning as a concept, but what does it really mean in this AI era, right? So if we look at it traditionally, when we spoke about succession planning, we would be speaking about HR, or it was an HR exercise. Mainly, it was a corporate issue. We're talking replacing a CEO, preparing future leaders, who will be replacing you if you're in sick leave, managing their retiring transitions. But in reality, succession planning is much larger and fundamentally much deeper. We're talking about business continuity, right? So it's a very different concept and it should be taken as such. Most businesses today, they remain far more fragile than they even realize. And that is because they never thought what will happen if they have to take a long leave or they're not there for any reason. Business should be separate from the founders and they should be continuing. Now, the knowledge, the relationships, the operational logic, and the decision making in many, many companies are still trapped inside a few individuals. Matteo, this creates an enormous hidden risk investor, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. This lack of real culture about really making the succession planning, because succession planning is so much more than what many people think about. It's about really, making the business really transferable value, creating transferable value. One of the biggest misconceptions that founders have is that they believe valuation is mainly about financial performance. So they always say, okay, well, the financial statement are telling me a certain result, therefore, okay, that's the value of the business. But that's not really the case because valuation is about transferability. And the question that many will ask, the investor will ask, is can the business survive leadership change? Can execution continue without a funder? Can operation quality remain stable during transition? Can the knowledge survive? Yeah, because here again, when everything is trapped inside the head of the founder, and there's nothing documented, there's nothing to scale. That's the reality. And with artificial intelligence, that becomes such a big problem. So fragility creates valuation discounts. The business depends heavily on one or two individuals. Very fragile. That's why key person risk is one of the key things that destroys the valuation in modern business. And let's face it, there's such a big gap. There's a big cultural gap because the founder may believe I'm indispensable. Without me, nothing happens. But the investor hears something completely different. This business is dependent. It's got dependency. It's got no optionality, and that's what really reduces attractiveness. As I said before, in the era in which we live today, we live in intangible economy. We live in artificial intelligence era. Businesses now have a new opportunity to systemize intelligence itself. It's such a big opportunity when we talk about succession planning now.
Absolutely. I think historically, whenever we discuss succession planning was mostly around replacing people. And to be honest, up until now, most of the succession planning conversations I had in the past have been when you're promoted, who's going to take your spot, right?
Mhm.
Or what training does the person that you're thinking that should be promoted should get? Because most is around people hopping around roles and positions more than thinking around business continuity as such. Um, Now, when bringing AI into the equation, this actually changes everything, right? Because businesses can now preserve organizational intelligence in entirely new ways. Plenty of more options available. So processes, they can be documented dynamically, sorry. Decision frameworks can become repeatable. We're looking at operational patterns that can become embedded. And obviously, knowledge becomes systemized. This is crucial. In the past, this were mainly held by people. This doesn't have to be the case anymore, right? And unfortunately, I think a lot of companies have not yet seized the opportunity, and they still have a lot of processes that are undocumented and then are simply living because of tribal knowledge. What I mean tribal knowledge is people that are ex or have experience within their fields and their businesses, and they basically um, carry out the jobs without any formalization. So the founder will know how pricing works. The sales director, we know how relationships are managed and who are the most important customers. Operations leader will know how the problems get solved. But then very little is truly institutionalized. And when they go on holiday, it becomes chaos and a nightmare, right? Um, and as soon as that person decides to change position, there might not be enough time to do a transition, which is extremely dangerous for a business because then execution it collapses. The quality will actually go down. Um, this is why I think Matteo and I would love to hear your point of view on this. But I think that when it comes to succession planning, it's increasingly a valuation issue rather than just a simple HR exercise.
Yeah, I would say this is such an unprecedented and big shift that I dare to say that AI-driven economies with AI effectively, we could start to see something really dramatic happening. I call it the extension of founder-centric businesses because let's face it, AI is putting a big danger on those businesses that are just founder-centric because if nothing is documented, everything is the founder-led, surely there are other businesses that unfortunately will be will be will be better at that, you know. And so the founder-centric business they really risk a real extinction. I believe one of the biggest change in the AI economy will be the emergence of something that I like to call knowledge infrastructure. Because businesses are no longer only building teams, they are building operational intelligence systems. And this includes AI enhanced workflows, decision frameworks, knowledge repositories, automated process maps, AI agents trained on company logic that we discussed about this last week as well, institutional memory systems. Now, this becomes incredibly powerful because when intelligence is embedded into systems, the business become more scalable and more resilient. And guess what happens to those who got nothing documented? They're just going to be left behind. So professionalization is not optional anymore, and resilience matters enormously in valuation. Investors are constantly assessing risk. You know, they're saying, what happens if the founder leaves? What happens if the key staff disappear? So what happens during rapid growth? So what happens during acquisition integration, for example? So businesses that preserve operational intelligence effectively may command entirely different valuation perception in the coming decade. And let me be even more blunt, even more dramatic here. uh, founder-centric businesses, they risk really to become worthless in AI-driven economies because investors, banks, they will completely overlook, a situation where there's no succession planning, there's no transferability of value, transferability of decision. So this is really, for me, a fundamental argument, succession planning in AI-driven economies.
I totally agree, Matteo. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of companies worry about this once it's too late. Okay. So now, both Matteo and I, we love to hear from the audience, and I think it's the time for doing a little pause, and we would like to hear from you, basically what affects um basically your business today. So we have a few questions this time. Um, the They're not option A, option B, option C, multiple choice questions. As usual, these ones are open questions, and the idea is really to have that space for you to reflect on your business, and give us a few hints of how we can help you, how we can engage with you. So the first one is, how dependent is your business on one or two individuals? And that includes you as a founder if you are the founder. The second question is, if your leadership team were to disappear tomorrow, what would break first? This could be a process, could be a function. Just think about it in the large sense. The third one is your knowledge documented or remembered? These are three questions that make a huge difference in the structure of your business. So let me repeat the questions again, in case there was a miss. The first one is, how dependent is your business on one or two individuals? The second is, if your leadership team disappeared tomorrow, what will break first? And the third is your knowledge documented or remembered? Please write your answers in the comments. We really look forward to hearing from you.
A great question, I have to say, because the answer will reveal really the transferability of the business and how AI can actually scale it. Because if the answer is everything, nothing is documented, actually AI will destroy your business even more. So it's the opposite of what many people think. Okay, well, I haven't got documentation, I need AI to help me. That is the other way around. The right question is not how which best AI tool can rescue me if I'm not organized. The right question is how can I get my business organized so that AI can scale it? So yeah, great question. For example, how dependent is your business on one or two individuals? If your leadership team disappear tomorrow, what will break first?
Absolutely.
If the knowledge is documented or remembered. So these are things that really make a big difference. And trust me, financial statements will never answer this question.
We mentioned this before, like countless times, but AI only accelerates what is already there. If not, it changes done, right? So if you have cows, it will accelerate cows. If you have structure, it will accelerate structure and growth. Now, one important clarification, because it can seem that we are attacking the founders, and that is not the case. Founders are essential. They just shouldn't be everywhere and taking every decision, because that is not making their life any easier in all the businesses, right?
Hmm.
AI does not eliminate the need for leadership. Actually, it increases its importance, right? Because AI without governance creates chaos. Without culture, it will create fragmentation. And if you do not have strategic clarity, it will be confusion at scale, which is basically a tornado in your own business. Now, that being said, the businesses that will succeed will not necessarily be the ones with the most AI tools. We've said this countless times. There's a difference between having an AI tool that just put as a layer on top, or having a proper refinement of an AI structure. It's a very different concept. And the businesses that would be the clearest in operational architecture, right, are the ones that will be succeeding. This means that leadership in itself must evolve. It's not just about carrying your job, but creating an asset, right? So we're expecting that the future leaders may be increasingly orchestrators of human teams, AI assistants, knowledge flows, decision frameworks, operational intelligence. We're thinking processes, not just a task. It's a very different thing. This change requires an entire new mindset. And it's not too late to start changing it, by the way. Um, Despite it all, if you don't realize that that mindset needs to be changed, a lot of companies will be completely unprepared for this shift. And let me be extremely clear about this. There is no way around the shift. It's happening. So you either move with it and change your company from the inside and core to grow and adapt, or you will be on the losing end.
Now, this is exactly why succession planning become one of the three pillars of the high valuation triangle. Because high valuable businesses, they tend to share a three characteristic. Number one, they are scalable. Number two, they are transferable. And number three, they are not dependent on one individual. AI now gives businesses the opportunity to accelerate all three of them. Just want to repeat that: scalable, transferable, and not dependent on one individual. So AI is now going to give you a chance to accelerate. And guess what's going to happen to those who don't do it? They're going to be left behind. I'll give you an example. A founder's commercial logic can begin to be embedded into CRM systems. Operational decision can become systemized. Customer intelligence can become centralized, and risk analysis become continuous. Yeah, so you don't just interrupt. That's really the big advantage. So that's why you're going to become much more investable when you really embrace the evaluation triangle and succession planning. Workflows can become repeatable. So that's what investors love. They love to see a system that works. This transforms the business from personality driven to architecture driven. And architecture is what investors pay premium for. That's one of the reasons why the market is going to reward those businesses that appear operationally mature. Yeah. So again, the founder controlled the business at the beginning, but now the founder has created the team, the leadership team. The leadership team is now able to operate, ideally with AI agents that will actually accelerate everything. So it's not simply profitable. And again, for all the finance professionals who are listening to us today, that's not something that you can actually get from financial statements. This is why the role of finance professional is gonna have to change, really.
Right, Matteo. And one of the hidden problems for medium and small market size companies is that they don't have any succession strategy at all. Actually, CNA just published this this last weekend an article on the difficulties that are faced by family-owned businesses where there is no succession planning and the parents are close to a retirement age, and it's something that they never thought about, right? So for a lot of these companies, the founder still approves everything, all the customer relationships, but also employees sit with only one person. And the operational logic completely remains undocumented because they've been doing the same thing over and over and over again. So they didn't feel the need um, to do things differently. So basically, all the relationship, whether it's customers, employees, suppliers, they depend to the proximity and the relationships of the founders or very few people within the company. And this creates major scalability limitations. First, because we only have 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, right? One person cannot do it all. There needs to be delegation and a share of leadership. And this will eventually lead to exits as well, right? So I think buyers increasingly look for businesses that can operate independently from the founders because that founder centricity is a very significant risk that they are not willing to carry anymore. In
Hmm.
particular, in a space where we're talking about AI-driven economies and we have expectations of scalability that are extremely fast. Now, that being said, businesses that remain heavily personality dependent may and will become structurally disadvantaged.
I couldn't agree more. And I wanted to actually start mentioning about my book, Fell People Scale. And I actually wanted to thank all those people who have written their reviews about the book. Thank you so much for appreciating this effort because, it comes back from really 2017 when I personally wrote a program for the University of Plymouth. And that program was designed really to help founder and finance professional navigate around intangible economies. Now, intangible economies from 2017 to 2026, they've seen a big shift. One of them is AI, as we've seen it. So one of the themes I explain in the book Failed People Scale is that many founders unknowingly build businesses that trap them inside the operations. They become indispensable. But ironically, indispensability often reduces enterprise value, and that's unfortunately the big trap for many, because the market values transferability more than heroics. Okay, heroics they are not unfortunately valuable to an investor, but transferability is. So this becomes even more important in artificial intelligence economies, and that's why the book will serve not just this generation but the next few generations as well. Why is that? Because AI increases the speed of execution, and the speed amplifies structural weaknesses. I'll just give you some thinking on this. If the workflows are fragile, AI will expose the fragility faster. If knowledge is centralized, AI exposes the dependency faster. That's why I was saying before, founder-centric business, they may actually, see dramatically negative consequences from this. If leadership lacks scalability, AI magnifies the limitation. So that's why succession planning is no longer optional. It's becoming a core component of valuation architecture. And if you agree with me, Margaret, I'd like to show 90 seconds of the book trailer now. So just, we take people can actually find out what the book is all about. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing to share everything about your book, Matteo.
So shall we see each other in 90 seconds then after this? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matteo, for sharing. This is a beautiful introduction about your book, Fail, Pivot, Scale. As you probably mentioned earlier, you can find it on Amazon, and you can get it from there. Now, um, as always, we want to give you very practical and actionable insight. So in order to do so, we're going to be sharing a series of questions so that you can understand where we're coming from and how you should think about your business going forward. So the first question would be, where should businesses begin, right? This is the first question that states how you should approach the equation. And the answer is definitely not with a complicated software. Definitely not panicking, and definitely not with an urgency mindset, because that's when things definitely go wrong. What you need to start looking at is at gaining visibility of your business. In order to do so, there are a few questions that you can ask yourself that I think would be incredibly helpful. The first one is, where is your critical knowledge trapped? The second is, which workflows depend entirely on individuals? The third is, which decisions are now undocumented? The fourth would be, which customer relationships are concentrated at this point in time? The fifth is, which operational activities would collapse if one person left? Let me repeat those because this is really critical for you to start thinking about your business with a different mindset. The first one is, where is your critical knowledge trapped? The second is, which workflows depend entirely on individuals? The third is, which decisions are currently undocumented? Fourth, which customer relationships are concentrated? And the fifth, which operational activities would collapse if one person left? Once you have all those answers, basically the next step is to start building systems to address those vulnerabilities and work around them, right? So what you would like to see is documentation, some sort of knowledge libraries, AI-enhanced workflows, systems that support your decisions, operational dashboards, training structures. We're not talking about replacing people, right? It's not switching people around or laying off people. We are talking about reducing that fragility. So if when these people move on, either outside or within your company, your business will not be affected, right? This is basically how businesses reduce the fragility and become significantly investable, which is the objective of these discussions.
Yeah, this is so relevant. All these questions are so relevant. Yeah, I mean, we probably should stress once more that AI-driven economies are asking for professionalization. So professionalizing your business is is now becoming much more valuable than would have been without AI. So think about this. AI can scale your business, but you need to make sure that your business is organized so that AI can scale your business. Because if you do not do that, AI will create more damage. That's the reality. And the AI era will not simply reward innovation. It will reward resilience. So forget about all those who say, well, AI is going to replace jobs. Of course, jobs are going to change, but in actual fact, it's the jobs that are gonna be created, the new jobs that are gonna be created with AI, they're actually gonna matter even more for your business. They will make your business more investable. And let's never forget about the concept that we've spoken about in the last few weeks, where the culture is at the moment about static intellectual property when we're moving towards dynamic intellectual property. So that means that what you thought in the past was going to be just a document that you put in your drawer and then it's just a legal document is actually becoming something completely different that you do not see on financial statements because your data, your algorithm, your contracts, your systemization, your the way in which, for example, you standardize your services, your product, those are becoming much more valuable. And resilience increasingly come from architecture, but not personally, not heroics, no founder dependency. Businesses that survive and thrive in the next decade may be the ones capable of preserving intelligence, skill in execution, and operating beyond individuals. So that's where succession planning and AI now intersect. Now, if you want to understand how prepared your business really is for the economy, we have created together the 12 outcomes in 49 days. It's a transformation program where you can join today and you can join for the next cohort, which will be in around 2 weeks' time. In 49 days, there will be a framework designed to help businesses become more scalable. The business become more transferable, more investable, more resilient, more AI ready. But do not think that this is a financial goal. We are going to show you how you can transform your business in creating new revenue streams. So commercially, your business will become more valuable, more profitable today, not because you are looking at a valuation in the future. Of course, the valuation will be higher because we'll engineer. That's the day-to-day engineering. Never forget this. AI is obviously helping us with this even more because you can actually accelerate the business further if you organize your business properly. But never forget that valuation is something you design. It's something you engineer every day. It's not something that suddenly you calculated on the back of a financial statement and then eventually you are going to have a magic number delivered to your door. You engineer it. You make your business much more scalable, much more profitable today. So yeah, maybe it's a few words from you on this, Margaret, about this program, the 12 outcomes in 49 days.
I think it's a fantastic program that enables founders, whether small structures or larger or mid-size, all types, to gain control over their valuation. Valuation is no longer a number that is given, whether an exit. Valuation is a much larger concept where we're looking at additional revenue streams. We're looking around access to capital, whether through banks or through investors. This is not an opportunity that you should um, let for tomorrow. And I understand, and this is something we hear a lot from founders, particularly in the stage where they're scaling. It's like, yes, but let me grow first. I think the problem should be set the other way around. You need to first structure so that when you grow, that structure grows with you. If you grow without structure, eventually it's going to be a chaos. So before you
Mhm.
do so, it's a big opportunity to join us. Um, it's also an exceptional price. It's an opportunity for you to ask direct questions to both of us, have discussions, um, pick your brains if you want on issues that are bothering you or keeping you up at night. So please do join us. We'll be really, really happy to have you.
Yeah, and the great thing is that you're gonna have both me and Margaret on this program for the 49 days. You will be able to then continue your conversation with us after the program. So the first goal is to transform your business, to make your business attractive to customers, first of all, customers. Then banks and investor. Customer, how do we attract more customer? You will find out through the program, but in the goal is to add revenue stream to your business, to extend the lifetime value of what you sell to your customer. You sell on value, you don't sell on price. Because what happens is when you sell on price, the customer will leave you on price. When you sell on value, the customer will retain you on value. So we're going to be with you all the way during these 49 days. On this chat, you will find on you're on LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, on Substack, if you're on Substack, you will find a link with participation, or if you want to get your scorecard and the diagnostic so that you can position yourself on these 12 outcomes, see where you score right now, see how useful the program will be, see how big a transformation it can be for you if you undertake this program. And we promise you that the value of this program will exceed your expectation. It will be many, many times over what you think. On the other hand, if you also want to send a direct message to me and Margaret, we are gonna deliver this program together to you. So send us a link. There will soon be live. We're gonna do a LinkedIn over the next few days. It will be 10 days from now. So you will receive an announcement about this. So there will be a LinkedIn live where we will present this in detail. It's gonna be called 12 outcomes in 49 days. We just cannot wait to see you all there. But in the meantime, you have a scorecard that you can fill in, against which we will send you a diagnostic. And I presume, I mean, obviously, Margaret, from your own network, you've seen lots of positive reaction to this, yes?
Absolutely. I was in a conference last week. In every discussion I've had this was within the M&I network, had very, very positive feedback and expressed a lot of interest. So this basically sprint is a game changer.
So we call it the evaluation sprint. I would say it was a great session this, and we've spoken about succession planning. We demystified so many points, didn't we, this week, Margaret?
Absolutely. And every session is more exciting. So
Okay.
join us next week too.
So see you next week. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Matteo.
Bye.